The story begins in a city in Spain, where we are shown a very religious family. The father's name is Tomás, his wife is Carmen, and they have 2 children. Their son, Jesus, is physically and mentally challenged, while their daughter, Laura, suffers from anxiety and has to take medication. Because the family is deeply religious, Carmen is extremely strict with her children, especially when it comes to faith and rules. Laura is a teenager, and this level of strictness is hard for her to handle. It is Halloween, and Laura wants to go to a party with a friend, but Carmen clearly refuses. Later, Laura is told to go to bed early. Tomás gives her medicine and gently explains that they love her and believe this is best for her. Laura does not argue, but once her father leaves the room, she secretly removes the pill from her mouth and hides it in a tissue. A little later, Laura secretly takes the house keys and some money to sneak out. Before she can leave, her brother Jesus sees her and reminds her that their mother has forbidden her. Still, he allows her to go, asking her not to do anything wrong. This support makes Laura feel better, and she leaves the house. She reaches a Halloween party and meets her friend Maria. Both study at the same Catholic convent school. The party is full of teenagers, many of whom are drinking. Maria, who is more open-minded, tells Laura she has a surprise and takes her to an abandoned apartment building where she plans to meet her boyfriend. Soon, their friends Arturo and Enric arrive and try to scare them for fun. Arturo is Maria's boyfriend, and the two go into another room for some private time. Laura stays with Enric, who offers her a drink, but she refuses. They begin to grow closer, but Maria and Arturo return and tease them. To entertain everyone, Arturo shares a disturbing story about a doctor who once lived in that building. Long ago, the doctor harmed his wife in a terrifying way in front of their daughters, then ended his children's lives as well. He later displayed their bodies outside the building while calmly whistling a lullaby. Even more unsettling, the doctor never admitted guilt, claiming a dark force controlled him and that his family was impure. After the story, Arturo and Maria suggest trying to contact spirits, so they decide to perform a ritual. Laura does not want to join, but her friends pressure her into taking part. They turn on the light, place the doctor's photo on the floor, hold hands, and close their eyes. Arturo begins calling out to the spirit. During this moment, Laura opens her eyes and starts staring at the photo, slowly losing awareness of her surroundings. Unlike the others who are doing this just for fun, Laura is truly scared because she comes from a deeply religious family. Sadly, something goes wrong. Suddenly, a whistling sound is heard, and everyone panics. They realize it is Laura, standing in a strange position. They ask her to stop, but she does not respond. When Maria approaches her, we see that Laura's eyes have turned completely white, though the others fail to notice. Laura then starts running rapidly around the room, terrifying her friends because this behavior is clearly not normal. She finally stops in a dark corner. Moments later, she suddenly runs toward them, collapses, and loses consciousness, with Enric catching her. At this point, the audience understands that Arturo's story was real. The ritual, done as a joke, has had an effect. The others remain safe, but Laura, whose life was already difficult, becomes the one deeply affected. Maria takes Laura home, but when Carmen sees Laura's condition, she gets angry and yells at Maria. Tomás then sends Maria away. After she leaves, Carmen brings Laura to the bathroom, tells her to ask God for forgiveness, and Laura obeys. As punishment for what she believes is a sin, Carmen cuts Laura's hair, and Laura cries. The next morning, Carmen wakes her for church. Seeing her cut hair, Laura feels awful. Before leaving, the family visits the shrine of their young son Adrian, who passed away years ago, showing how much this family has already suffered. While standing there, Laura sees a man's reflection in the marble, the same doctor from the story. She is frightened, suggesting the doctor's dark spirit may have briefly affected her, though the truth will unfold later. At church, Carmen sends Laura into the confession box. Inside, the priest's voice says he knows she committed a lust-related sin, and even says her name. Shocked, Laura checks the booth, but finds no one inside. As she turns to leave, she hears whistling and sees a dark entity. Terrified, she tries to run out of the church until her mother reaches her and steadies her. At that moment, Laura's schoolteacher Asuncion arrives, along with the new main priest, Father Olmedo. Father Olmedo praises Carmen's family for their strong faith and says they can come to him anytime. But before leaving, he looks at Laura in a way that suggests he already senses something is wrong. That night, Laura cannot sleep and goes to Jesus, asking if she can stay in his room. Jesus refuses, saying he is scared because a man talks to Laura at night, calls himself the doctor, and told him he will never leave her. Laura is frightened, but hides it so her parents don't learn about the ritual. Back in her room, she feels a presence around her and hides under her blanket. The next day, Maria ignores her at school, and Arturo mocks her short hair. During class, Laura suddenly feels pain in her arms and sees scratch-like marks forming on her skin, as if someone invisible is making them. No one else notices, so she rushes to the washroom to clean them. There, the bathroom door opens on its own, and the whistling starts again. Laura hides as the entity shakes the door violently. After a moment, everything goes silent. She checks around, then runs toward the exit, but the door is locked. Frozen in fear as the whistling gets closer, she swings her arm back, accidentally hitting Asuncion. The scene shifts to Laura meeting her new psychiatrist, Lola. Lola tells her she must share everything, otherwise the school may remove her, but their talks will remain private so she can help her. Scared and stressed, Laura explains that she and her friends did a seance for fun, and since then, strange things have been happening. She believes God is punishing her. Lola assures her that nothing supernatural is happening, and that this is likely fear and imagination. She advises Laura not to give these thoughts too much power, and mentions she isn't religious. The conversation comforts Laura, and she even gives Lola her number so she can contact her anytime. As they step outside, Lola runs into Enric. He offers to drop Laura home on his bike. Laura gets off a little early so her parents won't see, then kisses him and gives him her scarf as a gift. On her way home, Asuncion appears. She saw everything. She warns Laura not to fall into boys' traps, saying she made similar mistakes and still feels God punishes her. She adds that if Laura does the same, she too will face consequences. Her words are harsh and clearly influenced by her own issues. Then she leaves. At home, when Laura goes to shower, she suddenly sees the bathtub filled with black water and dirty clothes. Confused, she looks closer and feels something stuck in her throat. She starts gagging and coughs up a clump of hair. In pain and panic, she cries out, and Tomas and Carmen rush in to help her. Laura's parents grow worried and decide to take her to a doctor the next day. That night, she cannot sleep again. Scared, she goes to Hessis's room, holds his hand, and sleeps on the floor while praying. The next morning at school, she tries to meet Lola, but finds her office empty, so she leaves a message. In class, Arturo and his friends mock her again, which upsets her and triggers a strange inner reaction. Angry, she follows Arturo to the washroom. Appearing possessed, with her eyes completely white, she attacks him and badly injures his face. A moment later, she walks out covered in blood and collapses. She wakes up in the hospital with Lola beside her. Laura insists someone forced her to do this, either God or something dark. Lola tells her none of it is real and that these are just fears and stories. She comforts her. When Laura's parents arrive, Lola explains that Laura needs professional help and less religious pressure. Carmen gets angry and argues. Suddenly, Laura begins vomiting and collapses. Later, during an MRI, she feels extreme stomach pain. The doctors discover several metal crosses inside her. She had swallowed them, believing they would protect her. This reveals how fragile her mental state has become. The MRI is stopped because the magnetic field starts pulling the crosses out. When her family hears this, they are shocked. The doctor says Laura needs surgery to remove the metal and warns that her anxiety is worsening everything, but Carmen refuses to accept this. When Laura regained consciousness, she told her mother that a dark force was behind everything and would never stop. This scares Carmen even more. Only Tomas believes Laura needs medical treatment and that her condition is psychological. At home, Carmen calls Father Olmedo and explains everything. He says he sensed something wrong the first time he saw Laura and believes a dark spirit has taken hold of her. Tomas rejects this, but Father and Asuncion insist an exorcism is necessary. If they believe in God, they must accept the presence of dark forces. Tomas still refuses, thinking Laura is simply ill. This leads to a heated argument between Carmen and Tomas at church. Carmen even claims their son Adrian died because their faith weakened, though she never reveals the real story. She refuses to risk losing Laura in the same way. The next day at the hospital, Father turns the IV water into holy water. As soon as it enters her body, she screams in agony, her bones twisting and cracking. Everyone is shocked, and Tomas finally believes something supernatural may be happening. He agrees to the exorcism. Father explains it cannot be done in the hospital, so they must take Laura home. They prepare the house by covering all windows to keep it dark. Jesus is sent to stay with relatives. Meanwhile, Lola gathers information about Laura's condition, her marks, her drawings, and the symbols she made. She still believes this is psychological and wants to prove it so she can truly help Laura. Once Laura is brought home, Father warns the family that this will be a battle. The dark force will try to confuse them, and they must stay strong and alert. When Carmen asks how many exorcisms will be needed, Father Olmedo says he is unsure, but they cannot go beyond 13 because Laura's body cannot handle more. If things worsen, they may have to abandon the mission. The exorcism starts. As Father begins the ritual, Laura suddenly screams. The lights go out, and when they turn on a torch, she has disappeared. They search the house until Thomas hears a noise. Laura is perched on a shelf, eyes completely white. She lunges at him, but Father arrives, prays, and they manage to restrain her. Thomas cannot bear seeing his daughter in this state, but Father tells him to stay strong. The ritual intensifies with paranormal activity, while Laura suffers badly. Meanwhile, Lola meets Maria and Enric, telling Enric she knows what really happened at the party. Back at the house, Father asks Thomas to lay Laura in the bathtub so he can cleanse her spirit. After a moment underwater, Laura rises and speaks in a distorted voice. The exorcism continues, but without success, increasing everyone's fear. Things get worse when Laura speaks in her dead brother's voice and blames Thomas for his death, breaking him emotionally. Thomas steps outside to drink, where Lola approaches him. She convinces him Laura is ill and needs medical treatment, not exorcism. He finally agrees, and they call the police. Just then, Father discovers something terrifying. Laura is not possessed by the doctor's spirit, but by Lucifer himself. Everyone is shaken, but before they can act, the police arrive and stop everything. They arrest everyone for forcing an exorcism on Laura. Thomas carries his daughter, and Laura quietly asks him, "I'm not a good girl, am I?" Before he can answer, she suddenly jumps out of the nearby window. We then see Laura lying on the ground, seemingly lifeless, but a moment later, she smiles, showing she is not dead, and the dark force inside her, Lucifer, is still present. The scene cuts here. We then see Lola being questioned by police about that night. She gives her statement and says Laura's family must be punished because Laura was sick and they tortured her instead of helping her. After giving her report, she leaves and gets into a taxi. She looks at Laura's photo and feels heartbroken. Suddenly, she receives a message from Laura's phone, and the film ends there.